11th edition has been out for about a month now. And first off, I can't believe it's been 3 years since 10th edition was released. I have already played more games of 11th edition than I did of 10th. And in that time, I found a couple things I like and a couple things I didn't like. So I think we should sit and talk about that while we paint up this lovely miniature of the month, Fellgor from Games Workshop. And I painted up in the scheme of the Red Corsairs. Welcome to Watchfire Hobbies, and sit by the Watchfire with me and let's have a chat. So this is a new series on the channel where we'll spend some time painting while talking about what's happening in the hobby. Sometimes it's a new edition like today, sometimes it's new model releases, army projects, or other things I've been thinking about while painting. Think of this as a relaxed conversation while we're painting. So with the miniature of the month, I decided to paint them as Red Corsairs. And to do that, first thing, swapped out the club, gave him a pirate kind of cutlass looking weapon. And this is because my first opponent spent 2 turns of his 2 squads of Fellgors shooting my Farseer and did not kill it. So in honor, I figured I'd paint him up like that. With 11th edition, overall, really enjoying it. It feels much cleaner, much, more streamlined than last editions. These are my first kind of impressions of it. We have been playing at 1,000 points, mainly due to letting people learn the game, which has actually been super fun. You don't see as many big, scary things people can still bring them. I saw someone bring a Catan the other day. It's just more of your budget. The one thing I really do like is game flow is much better. It's much less, you go, I can go get coffee, do my taxes, and then come back and roll my saves. I feel engaged the entire time, which is good. And that's something I really think people in my area went to AOS because you felt that engagement the whole time. Using the app and having it integrated with the game, for me, it's a big benefit. Now, I love carrying around 800 pounds of books and, get a free gym session. No, you don't want to do that during a game. Having it just on your phone, which everybody seems to have, or I know one guy I play with has a tablet dedicated just for wargaming. So much easier. Using the war journal to track the game, it's good. The army builder, I have no issues with. I've only, I've sat there and built a lot of armies, but I don't see any major issues that I have with some of the free apps, and being able to implement it right away to your game and port that over is good. And then also seeing your opponent's armies and be like, if I know if I'm going to shoot at these Red Corsairs Marines, well, those are 3 wounds, so I got to remember that. I can look that up. For me, huge help. What really frustrates me about the app is I have a Tyranid army. I was looking at doing an Orc army. I have my Guard army. If I don't have those codex codes from last edition, they're locked behind a paywall. And I understand why Games Workshop does this. I do. I'm not going to go off and say, they shouldn't do that. I just would like an easier way of creating armies, How many Bane Blades can I take in a Guard army? Well, I can't look. I have to go to a third party with that. I've used, I believe it's War Organ for that one. It's good. It does everything I need. I haven't played with it because I've been just playing Eldar in my first couple games. But I do miss that it makes that casual list building harder. I could go download all the rules and do all that, but having it built in, One of my favorite things about this edition is how they're treating objectives and terrain. The objective being the terrain feature, to me, makes much more sense than a single point on the field. I've done it where in games in the past where I've put the objective marker, like, let's put in the terrain feature because it's cool, it's thematic. This forces that issue. And to me, I like that. I don't really want, especially Eldar, to sit in the middle of an open field and be like, oh, we're holding this one, quarter that's here for a train, or they could be, oh, we're handing this strategic building. I like that. That to me is nice. The train layouts really do help, and well, that brings me to the real issue I've been having: the train footprints. I think this is much more a practical issue, and we're really waiting for more accessories to come back up for this, because the games I've played so far, two of the games we kind of just were like, here's roughly what the train looks like, and that worked fine. We're just playing for fun. We're not being super competitive. The other one, the person printed out the train layouts on paper. It worked, but I really want like a neoprene mat. Games Workshop sells the cardboard ones. They're currently out of stock, of course. The footprints are a great idea. Don't get me wrong. And if my printer decided it wanted to not randomly clog up and make a huge blob every time I try to print the footprints, I would probably have 3D printer ones right now. But I'm kind of looking out, and looking around and waiting for those companies to catch up. I believe Gray Matter Gaming emailed me yesterday or the day before saying they finally have neoprene footprints. So they are coming. I just think it's going to be a little bit of a catch up. Not mechanic, but it's a little bit of a catch up till they get there. And I think the problem will solve itself. And if my printer ever decides to work and not want to just, destroy itself anytime I try to print something that thin, I will have 3D printed ones that look great and it will be painted and textured and everything. But most likely I'm probably going to just buy the neoprene ones once they come out and use them for my games. One of the final things I'm really liking about this edition is the forced dispositions. Now, those to me are just a very fun way to play a game, especially if you just gonna jam a game with a random person. I played 2 games against 2 different Necron players, and both of them had different force dispositions that changed the entire flow of the game. So if I'm running Seer Council, priority assets versus the Necron that is Purge the Foe, it's going to be a different game than one that is Take and Hold. So just having that little intricacies when you're building the list changes the game each time. It makes it fresh. Now, I've only played a couple games. It's still fresh. But I'm very much happy with that little change that's going to change the game each time. And, the different maps, the different things. Having the tactical objectives built into the app also, I do like, because then I can just, hit draw. You draw 2 and you can click the 2 and then you have it and then it builds it in. And then, you assassinate a character and you forgot you did it like 3 turns and you waste a whole round of shooting trying to kill a character and you already did it, and then look at yourself go, oh, I forgot to click it off the app. That's a personal thing. I'll get there. I promise. And that's been my issue with the War Journal part, is that I do forget to click stuff. Again, I will get better at it. I also like being able to go back and look at who I played and what they played. And we can look at win rates like that locally, which is really cool. Overall, I'm very optimistic for this edition. Like I said, we've been playing locally about 1,000 points. It's actually a fun level to play at. You're still playing the full-size board, and as an Eldar player who really wants to move around the board, love that. But you get the full feel of the game. Now, nothing is perfect. There are issues. There's still points where you're sitting there going, does that work? Does that not? It's not perfect. But I like it much more than 10th edition. And from the games I've been playing, I've been actually having a lot of fun. And at the end of the day, that's what matters most to me. Now, I would love to hear what your experience has been so far. What's your favorite change in 11th edition? And what's the one thing you really want to tweak or change to make the edition better for you? So let me know in the comments below. Thank you for joining me today and spending some of your hobby time. I am really excited about 11th edition and all the Battle March stuff that just came out. I played a couple games of Battle March. So that might be there next time we sit and chat. So I'll paint up some old world miniature. We can talk about some Battle March games and what I'm excited about with that game format. But until next time, enjoy your hobby.